जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव बिहारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
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 जय यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजन
यमुनतीरावनचारी
यमुनतीरावनचारी यमुनतीरावनचारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण
हरि बोल
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radhe.
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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada.
Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Vrinda. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस जगचार अष्टोत्तर सत श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरण अरविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस जगचार अष्टोत्तर सत श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रीला प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री श्री गुरु एंड श्री गौरंगा, ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्रीला प्रभुपाद। जय कृष्णा। So we are reading from Canto 6, Chapter 2, verse 41. Before starting, I want to seek the blessings of Maharaj and all the senior Vaishnavas and all of you. So text 41. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya गोविंदाय नमो नमः। नमो पंकज नाभाय नमो पंकज मालिने नमो पंकज नेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रहे। So text 41 ततो गुणेभ्य आत्मनाम व्युज्यात्मा समाधिना युयुजे भागवत धामनि ब्रह्माणि अनुभवात्मनि ततो गुणेभ्य आत्मानां वियुज्यात्मा समाधिना युयुजे भागवत धामनि ब्राह्मणि अनुभावात्मनि ततो गुणेभ्य आत्मानां वियुज्यात्मा समाधिना युयुजे भागवत धामनि ब्राह्मणि अनुभावात्मनि ततो गुणेभ्य आत्मानां वियुज्यात्मा समाधिना युयुजे भगवत धामनि ब्राह्मणि अनुभावात्मनि। ततो गुणेभ्य आत्मानां युज्यात्मा समाधिना युयुजे भगवत धामनि आत्मानां आत्मानां युज्यात्मा तथा thereafter gunebhya from the modes of material nature atmanam the mind vyujya detaching atma samadhina by being fully engaged in devotional service yuyuje engaged Bhagavad Dhamni, in the form of the Lord, Brahmani, which is Para Brahman, not idol worship, Anubhava Atmani, which is always thought of, beginning from the lotus feet and gradually progressing upwards. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Ajamil fully engaged in devotional service. Thus he detached his mind from the process of sense gratification and became fully absorbed in thinking of the form of the Lord. Purport. If one worships the deity in the temple, one's mind will naturally be absorbed in the thought of the Lord and his form. There is no distinction between the form of the Lord and the Lord himself. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is the most easy system of yoga. Yogis try to concentrate their minds upon the form of the Super Soul, Vishnu, within the heart. But this same objective is easily achieved when one's mind is absorbed in the deity worshipped in the temple. In every temple, there is a transcendental form of the Lord, and one may easily think of this form. By seeing the Lord during Arati, by offering bhoga, and by constantly thinking of the form of the deity, one becomes first-class yogi. This is the best process of yoga, as confirmed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita 6:47. Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yukta tamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The first class yogi is he who controls his senses and detaches himself from material activities by always thinking of the form of the Lord. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahara Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंगायते गिरिम यत्कृपा तमहं वंदे श्री गुरु दीन तारणम। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So very beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada here, focusing on attaching our mind and absorbing our mind in the thought of the Lord with deity worship. So this morning I was in the altar with Amog Leela Prabhu trying to learn how to dress Gaur Nitai. So I was seeing like he was completely absorbed. It was like when I read this purport, I couldn't relate. Like when Prabhupada said it was samadhi when you are worshipping. But when I saw these devotees, Amog Leela Prabhu, Mani Bandhani Prabhu, Janardhan Prabhu, Dayanidhi Prabhu, they were so absorbed in deity worship. I could relate to this verse. That how can one be fully absorbed when doing deity worship? So, and a very important point here is noted is that Ajamil, although fully engaged in devotional service, he detached his mind from the process of sense gratification, and he became fully absorbed in thinking of the form of the Lord. So as we know that, Ajamil got a second chance. He saw 4 fearsome men, and then after that he saw 4 beautiful men. Those were Vishnu Dutas, and he realized that he had committed a lot of sins in his activities, and by the grace of Krishna, he was given another chance. Just like you get a visa extension, to stay somewhere. So he was given another extension to continue his life. So then he went to Haridwar, and then he dedicated his whole life. And he knew what mistake he had done, so he didn't commit it again. So he executed this process of Bhakti Yoga in Haridwar, and he took shelter at a Vishnu temple, and he controlled his mind. He detached his mind from the process of sense gratification. So I want to know why do people do sense gratification? Can anyone tell your thoughts? What do you think? Why is everyone engaged in sense gratification? Chasing joy, yes. Chasing joy. Everybody is looking for happiness. Right? In our scriptures also say that the purpose of life is to be happy. The scripture says, let everybody be happy. Sarva sukhenu bhavantu. And then everyone is looking for happiness. That is also said in the Vedas, Ananda Mayo Bhyashat. Everybody is looking for Ananda, bliss. Whether it is a small ant which is looking for a grain of sugar, or it is an elephant, or we human beings, everybody is looking for joy, happiness. But this is Ananda, it is not like happiness, this is bliss, this is way beyond happiness, which is derived from spiritual experiences. So, but what happens is that a living entity, the Jivatma, the soul, it interacts with the 3 modes of material nature, like, ignorance, passion, and goodness, and it gets entangled in karma under the effect of time. And due to this cycle, it basically suffers or enjoys in this body. So, and like it is said in this verse that Ajamil tried to detach his mind from sense gratification. So let us little bit focus on the mind. What is a mind? What is the mind? Our scriptures tell that mind is a storehouse of thoughts. So I am a cyber security architect. I work in security. So I have one analogy for the mind. So just like you have your laptop or your computer, it gets infected with a virus. So similarly, the mind is like a software. Can you see my mind? We cannot see anybody's mind. It's subtle thing. We have the brain, we have this body, but mind is subtle. So it's like a software. Body can be considered hardware. So the mind gets infected with different kind of viruses, like a computer virus. You can say lust, anger, greed, and so many different things, anxiety, depression, whatever. And that creates resistance in our pursuit to happiness. So in order to get to the level of achieving that happiness, sometimes we have to raise ourselves to the platform of goodness, which is Sattva Guna. So in the Bhagavad Gita also, this verse is there, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labate param. So in order to be happy, we have to be at a certain level of mode of goodness, Prasannatma, to be happy. So na shochati na kankshati. So one who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments nor desires to have anything. he is equally disposed towards every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. So he is not lamenting, oh, somebody said something to me at 20 years back. I'm still lamenting for that. So what? How does it really matter? People are still crying for that. And I desire this, that. Nobody is living in the present, past or future. And he is equally disposed towards every living entity. We have so much hate, discrimination and all this, but Bhagavad Gita is teaching us we should be equally disposed towards every living entity. Vidya vinay sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva sopakecha pandita samadarshina. That an educated person is not one who has great degrees or something like that. Educated person is one who sees that divine force within each and every living entity. Whether it is a dog or a dog eater or an elephant or a learned sage, that is a real Pandit. But in our pursuit to happiness, we see so many things as an input from our eyes, from our ears. We see so many things. We get input through our ears. We eat something. So these are like inputs to our body. Just like in a computer, you have garbage in, garbage out. So similarly, in the body, if you put garbage in, then garbage out, it's the same concept. Yeah. So in this pursuit, there are so many desires that are coming. So how to handle that situation? So Bhagavad Gita also gives the answer. It says, Apuryamanam achala pratishtham samudra apa pravishanti yadvat Tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sa shantim apnoti na kama kami. A person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enters like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So one day we went to this pair on the Pacific beach, and we were talking. So we were thinking that Pacific Ocean is so huge. Can anyone guess the length of Pacific Ocean? In terms of miles, like like how, if you go from here to say Australia or somewhere, like how much distance it would be, how much long it stretches. Yeah, exactly. So 9,000 few miles, which is close to 10,000. And Srila Prabhupada also writes in the purport that the ocean never crosses the brink. So I was thinking the Pacific Ocean is just half a mile from here. It never came to the temple.
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. Maharaj has been seeing for last 50 years, and there are buildings for last 100, 200 years. So it's just amazing. So just like an ocean, the person never gets disturbed. He is always peaceful, and although it is being filled with so many desires, incessant flow of desires are coming in. I should do this. Some family members are saying you should do that. Friends are saying you should do that. There is a peer pressure among students in high school, in middle school. But who can achieve peace? A person who is not disturbed by these desires, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So that is very important. And we know today is Mokshada Ekadashi, very auspicious day. And today is the day when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjun on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And it was a crisis situation. Just like Ajamil. Ajamil was in a crisis situation. He was about to die. Imagine, he was about to die. It was crisis for him. And if you see all our scriptures, whether it is Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, whether it is Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Holy Quran, all of them are filled where, there is a crisis situation, where there is difficulty. So all these scriptures are teaching us how to handle that crisis, how to react in those situations. So there was crisis in Bhagavad Gita. Arjun was bewildered. He didn't knew what to do in the battlefield. He didn't want to fight with his relatives. And because of sinful reactions, because he was so compassionate, because he thought it will destroy the dynasty, and he didn't want it to enjoy all the kingdom without the family members. So he basically gave up. He said, Krishna, I cannot fight. He gave up his bow Gandiva, and he says, Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prachhami tvam dharma sammud cheta yat shreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me shishyaste ham shadi mam tvam prapannam. So he basically said, I cannot fight. And then Krishna explains, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, the concept of the soul, karma and everything. Yeah, again, crisis. If you see, like in Bhagavatam, you have Prahlad Maharaj. So, how many pages of Prahlad Maharaj are filled with, he had a very nice, jolly time when he was like below 5 years. The whole narration is about there are military phalanxes which are about to kill him. He's thrown, he's beaten up, and so many different things. Similarly for Ajamil, how many pages are occupied with, he was a nice Brahmin, he did this puja, he chanted this mantra. It's all talking about the difficult situation. So therefore, it is very important to have a Brahminical culture since the very early stage, from the childhood. The kids should be given that Brahminical children. So, there was a free, I think some of you are from the 1960s, there was a free love movement in 1960s, where they rejected everything, the normal course of, getting married, having kids and everything. So, and we know that, yes, so, but how it turns out to be. So in the scriptures, as we know that it is said that Gurur na sashyat, Swajano na sashyat, Pita na sashyat, Janani na sashyat. So one should focus on educating kids in a spiritual culture so that they can control their minds. They can detach their mind from sense gratification. Because we are trying to attach our mind towards temporary sense gratification, which can give us temporary joy. But we are not this body. We may feel happy for some time, but again we will be frustrated. So we get real happiness when we connect to our source, when we connect to ourselves, when we connect to the Supreme Lord. And Sukadev Goswami, explains that there is no greater religious principles than becoming the devotee of the Lord. So many times we see that people ask that, I can name my son as Narayan, and I can chant his name at the time of death, and I can go back home. So, and I don't want to do devotional life throughout my life. I'll just chant the name of Narayan at the time of death. Do you think it is a good proposition?
If it were.
Yeah, that's a risky proposition because it's like gambling.
It's like sitting on the name of chanting.
Exactly, yeah. It's an offense, like Dravida Prabhu rightly said. So, and I think it's like gambling also. You are trying to gamble your whole life on that. You didn't do anything throughout your life and you're thinking, I'll just chant the name of Krishna and then that's it. So it's a disease, basically. That's a disease. Gambling is a disease and it comes in your blood and you cannot actually do anything. So nowadays we have Gambler Anonymous, just like you have Alcoholic Anonymous. They are trying to help those people who gamble. So I heard one news of Sunrise Hospital in Las Vegas. Has anyone heard of that? Okay. So it's a hospital and there were nurses and they were used to gambling. And there were like 10 beds, patients are lying. And because of their habit of gambling, they started betting on these beds, who will die first. Sorry?
The nurses were gambling.
Nurses were gambling with each other.
The patients were gambling.
No, one nurse said bed number 2 will die first. Another nurse said bed number 5 will die first. Let us gamble $1,000.
But that's, I mean, they might kill you to win the bet.
That's what happened. The management, exactly, Maharaj, you are right on spot. So the management started noticing that after few days, people are dying very early. Before, they should. This actually happened, yeah. I don't know the exact year, but I can give you the times. Yeah. Yeah. Don't go to Las Vegas. So. Yeah, exactly. And I had a friend who was telling that there is a dice dealer in Las Vegas, and dice, yeah, they roll the dice in the casino. And this person will throw the dice and would take money and collect money and all those things. So everyone thinks that they themselves are winning, but actually they are not winning. And the casino gets really happy when you win, because that means you are putting in more money, and ultimately the house wins. In the end, the house means the casino actually wins in the end. They understand the psychology of a gambler very well. And it's like a fisherman, like a fish, thinks, oh, I got the bait, I got something to eat. And as it is chewing, and the fisherman is very happy. Wow, the bait goes more deeper into the jaw, and he's like, wow, very nice. And ultimately, the fisherman gets the fish. So it's the same situation. So if you name your son as Narayan, there is a chance you will chant your name. But Ajamil was a great Brahmin. He did a lot of pious activities in the past, and he was not an ordinary living being. So, but the right way is, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Man mana bhav mat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskar. Always remember me, worship me, pay obeisances to me. That is the right process. Then it will be 100% guaranteed that yes, we can remember at the time of death. So we should not take a chance in this case. Since we are also in the book marathon this month, so I just want to speak a little bit on book marathon. So we know that Prabhupada established 7 purposes of ISKCON, and when I was reading through it, I saw that books are basically the basis of all these 7 purposes. So I'll quickly read through 7 purposes so that we can appreciate that. Number 1, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge to society at large and to educate all people in the techniques of spiritual life in order to check the imbalance of values in life and to achieve real unity and peace in the world. Second, to propagate a consciousness of Krishna, God, as it is revealed in the great scriptures of India, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Third, to bring the members of the society together with each other and nearer to Krishna, the prime entity, thus developing the idea within the members and humanity at large that each soul is part and parcel of the quality of Godhead Krishna. Fourth, to teach and encourage the Sankirtan movement, congregational chanting of the holy name of God as revealed in the teachings of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Fifth, to erect for the members and for the society at large a holy place of transcendental pastimes dedicated to the personality of Krishna. Sixth, to bring the members closer together for the purpose of teaching a simpler, more natural way of life. Seventh, with a view towards achieving the aforementioned purposes, to publish and distribute periodicals, magazines, books and other writings. Hari Bol. So books are the basis, like Srila Prabhupada would say, and so many letters of Prabhupada, he has appreciated devotees distributing a lot of books and so much happiness it gives to him. So another reference of a purport I found for book distribution was in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, 18th verse. Srila Prabhupada writes that there are 2 types of Bhagavats, namely the book Bhagavat and the devotee Bhagavat. A devotee Bhagavat is as good as a book Bhagavat, because the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat, and the book Bhagavat is full of information about the personality of Godhead. Bhagavat book and person are identical. So I like this sentence very much, where it says the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat. So while we are distributing the books, we also lead by our example, our character. whatever is written, we exemplify that character to others, and then people get so motivated and inspired by looking at our character and what we are doing, that they immediately want to buy the book, which will come up by our sadhana and services. So, like yesterday, Vijaya Prabhu was mentioning about tolerating. What was that line, Vijaya Prabhu? I forgot about tolerating.
If you tolerate, then there's very little to tolerate. If you're not tolerant, then there's so much you have to tolerate. And Deity said you have to tolerate being intolerant.
Very good. Thank you.
Then it becomes intolerable.
It is intolerable. So I was remembering one quote from Prabhupada on that also, on the same lines. He was saying that the greatness of a person is determined by how one tolerates provoking situations. And we know that a devotee expects, Prabhupada in one of the lectures was saying, a devotee expects difficulties at every step. Looks like a very pessimistic, statement. Why should I expect like difficulties at every step? How many of you think like it's very pessimistic statement, or? No one?
You asked the wrong audience.
Okay.
More realistic.
So yeah, but we know that even in difficulties we take shelter of Krishna, and Tathenu Kampasa Sumikchamanam. Yeah. So it's all about perception, how we perceive, things. If we think that something good is going to happen, and we expect that it doesn't happen, we are frustrated. But if we don't expect much and something good happens, we are happy. And another reference to book distribution I wanted to share was, Prabhupada says in one purport that book distribution is samadhi. Just like he's writing this purport that deity worship is samadhi, he's also writing book distribution is samadhi. So, Canto 10, Chapter 237, the translation is, even while engaged in various activities, devotees whose minds are completely absorbed at your lotus feet and who constantly hear, chant, contemplate and cause others to remember your transcendental names and forms are always on the transcendental platform. And thus, they can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in this translation, in the Sanskrit, there is a word called Kriyasu. Can anyone guess what is the meaning of Kriyashu? It comes from Kriya. Activities, yes. So the word Kriyashu, meaning by manual labor or by work, is important in this verse. One should engage in practical service to the Lord. In our Krishna conscious movement, all our activities are concentrated upon distributing Krishna literature. This is very important. One may approach any person and induce him to read Krishna literature so that in the future he may also become a devotee. Such activities are recommended in this verse. Kriyashu yes tvach charanar vindeo. Such activities will always remind the devotees of the Lord's lotus feet. By fully concentrating on distributing books for Krishna, one is fully absorbed in Krishna. This is samadhi. I'll repeat this. By fully concentrating on distributing books for Krishna, one is fully absorbed in Krishna. This is samadhi. This is amazing. I never read this before. I mean, this is so beautiful. And then one reference from Chaitanya Charitamrita also I would like to share quickly with respect to those who distribute the books. Like already Krishna says that those who share this message are very dear to him. Similarly in Chaitanya Charitamrita also is there. So we know King Prataparudra, the pastime of King Prataparudra is there. He wanted to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prataparudra, he changes his dress and then goes into a garden when there was Lakshmi Vijay Utsav. And he started chanting, the Gopi Gita from Bhagavatam. So, yes. Please chant for me. Yeah.
Jayate dikam janmanavraja Shayate indara shashvaratrahi Tayata drishitan dikshutavakas Tvahidvitasavas tam vichindate. Next one? No, not the next one.
Can you chant Tav Katham?
Yeah. You want to? Should I do that? You can give the translation. Tavakatam mitam tapta jivanam kavabiri ditam kalmashapaham shavana mangalam shimaratatam bhuvagunam dehe puridajana. Give the translation. My dear Lord, this is the gopis praying. The nectar talks about you are the life and soul of the living entities who are burning and suffering in this material world. Those talks are spread by great devotees and munis and acharyas. Certainly, those who are spreading your message are the best welfare workers in this world.
Jai Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu. Vijay Prabhu, you want to share? Okay. Yeah. So in this verse. It is said that those who spread the message of Godhead are certainly the most munificent welfare workers. Yeah, I like this verse very much, Tava Kathamridam and Gopi Geet. So when Maharaj Prataprudra, he goes to the garden where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there in his different dress. So he was chanting this Gopi Geet, Tava Kathamrit. Then Mahaprabhu says, तव कथामृत श्लोका राजा ये पढ़ीला उठी प्रेमा वेशे प्रभु आलिंगन कैला. Would you like to chant together? तव कथामृत श्लोका राजा ये पढ़ीला मृत श्लोका राजा ये पढ़ उठी प्रेमा वेशे प्रभु आलिंगन कैला. So what it means is Tava Kathamrit Shloka Raja Ye Padila. When the king was chanting this verse, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately got up. Utti Prema Vesha. With love he got up and he alingan means embraced. He embraced the king. And then what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Yeah, like that he said. You are the most munificent. And then, yeah, he said that, and later also, what I'm going to narrate, he also said this. Prabhu bale ki tumi karila mora hita achambita ashi piyayo Krishna lila mrita. He said, who are you? Who did my hita? Hita means you did something good for me, benefited me. Because all by surprise you came here and you gave me the nectar of Krishna's pastimes. Ashi piyayo means to drink the nectar of Krishna's pastime. And then now Mahaprabhu is asking, King Prataprudra, who are you? And he's like in disguise, he's in different dress because he didn't want to meet him being a king. So Prataprudra cannot lie to the absolute truth. So he has to tell the truth. So he said that Raja kahe Ami tumar daser anudasya bhritera bhritkara hi morasa. So the king said that, my dear Lord, I am your servant and my only desire is to be the servant of your servant. So he told the truth. That is his actual position is to be the servant of the Lord. Gopi bharti aur pad kamale aur das anudas. So in this purport, in this pastime, Srila Prabhupada writes that following Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's instruction, the king had given up his royal dress. He now entered the garden in the dress of a Vaishnava. In the purport, Prabhupada says, sometimes members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, especially in the Western countries, find it difficult to approach people to distribute books because people are unfamiliar with the traditional saffron robes of the devotees. The devotees have therefore inquired whether they can wear European and American dress before the general public. From the instructions given to King Prataprudra by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, we can understand that we may change our dress in any way to facilitate our service. When our members change their dress to meet the public or to introduce our books, they are not breaking the devotional principles. The real principle is to spread the Krishna conscious movement, and if one has to change into regular Western dress for this purpose, there should be no objection. Any comments? Dravida Prabhu, you wanted to say something? Okay, yeah.
There's some history behind that, but go ahead.
No, please Maharaj, I would love to hear that. I am mostly done. I just have one point, but I can say after you. Yeah, please. So I'm done, yeah. Please.
Prabhupada heard that the devotees were wearing Western dress and wearing wigs. And he didn't like it, the way it was presented. He thought, oh, they're just becoming hippies, they're giving up their Vaishnava dress, and this is not good. Then, so he said, stop. He said, it was actually a letter that went out, I think it came from his secretary, that stop this. Then he met with the devotees in Los Angeles, and I think Tripurari had gone to this base here, the Marine base, in Western dress. And he had a wig, and then they had a cap on it, and so he could get past the guard. And did something like, I don't know what it was, 55 hardbound Gitas, which was, And so Prabhupada said, oh. And Prabhupada gave the example of Narada Muni, not Narada Muni, what is it? When he's describing Prahlad Maharaj, when the Hiranyakasipu asks, where did you get this knowledge from? How did And the teachers were saying, oh, we don't know. Someone may have slipped in, maybe something. So Prabhupada, in that purport for that verse, that section of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada describes that sometimes the devotees have to disguise themselves so they can slip in and deliver the message of Krishna. So Prabhupada reversed himself when he found out that, no, at the temple, Sika, Tilak, the whole business, Dodi, Kurta, that just in those situations, like we were getting thrown out of malls, I was arrested at least 6 or 7 times. I was counting it up the other day. So that we can get in and deliver the message, Prabhupada reversed and said, oh, this is very good, these are the brave Vaishnavas. So I just wanted to give a little background.
Sure, no, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Coming from you, it makes more sense. Yeah. So I was thinking Prabhupada established ISKCON, so I was trying to think of this word ISKCON. So if you break it into 3 parts, is-KC-on. So when the book distributors are going, they are asking everybody, is your Krishna consciousness on? So, because yeah. So as you understand that there is a tendency to become entangled and that we forget the purpose of life and how to attain that. So book distributors should go out and ask these questions. And the Bhagavatam explains that by rendering service to great souls, the desire to hear about Krishna develops. So when we serve, then we will get a desire to hear more about Krishna, to chant about Krishna. And by associating with worldly minded people, what happens is the door to hellish existence opens for us, if that's where we want to go. And therefore through satsanga we can be nourished and we can remain strong in our devotion to God and in our life. And if we do not have time for the spiritual life, then we are like most unfortunate person. So because human life is meant for spiritual awakening, and we should use this life for awakening our God consciousness. So as we know, there are animals, there are human beings. So in Mahabharata there is a verse, Ahar nidra bhai maithunascha samanyam etat pashubhi naranam dharmo hitesho adhiko vishesho dharma vihina pashubhi samanam. So let us be very thankful to the Lord that He is providing this path of devotion towards Him, and we have this great opportunity and good fortune to basically raise ourselves to the level of sattva guna, goodness, and be happy, which is the purpose of life, to have a complete circle. This class I started with, the purpose of life is to be happy. So let us all strive towards, with each other's love and friendship, reach there and serving Radha Giridhari. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Time.
Just one quick thing.
You presented that, why don't I just skate, enjoy, dance like and enjoy, and the last minute I'll remember Krishna.
Yes.
So a devotee sent me, and it was, in airplanes they have the black box that records what's going on, in addition to all the mechanical stuff that's going on when an airplane crashes. Then they find the black box and they try to analyze what was the problem. It also records the voices of the pilots up into the last minutes, recording what the conversation is, so they can analyze what the, was it pilot error, what happened, And it's said that, and this was a study of something like 75 different plane crashes. And it was like 90%. They either swear or they call for their mother. That's how, as they're all of a sudden the fog clears and they're flying right into a mountain. They don't say, "Oh God, save me." They don't go, pati, whatever it is. Pai Mahayogin. They don't go and they call for their mother or they swear. So it's not easy at the time of death. That's my point. It's not easy at the time of death that you're going to remember Krishna unless you're practiced to do it.
Thank you for that nice survey. Yes, there you go. Okay, thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai.